everybody, it's Jason Blaha with Ice Cream Fitness here. Once again, it is time for the Monday Q&A, and I'm going to get right to these questions. But hold on, let me give you guys a bicep shot first. And let's get right to this, because I want to try to do 2 of these today. First question. Do different chest exercises actually hypertrophy different areas of the chest? Growth science often says incline builds upper chest, decline builds lower chest. Is there any truth to that? This is one of those things that the actual truth falls somewhere between what both extremes say, to where you get people who say that different lifts like that, for example, build different parts of the chest primarily or exclusively, and others who say no, it doesn't matter. And the actual truth is somewhere in between in this case. What we do know from different studies is that different angles and things on lifts like that, when you have different insertion points on things like the chest and you have a couple of different muscles involved or heads of a muscle involved, yeah, different lifts can give more emphasis in different heads of a muscle than the other. But it's not exclusive. You always contract fibers throughout the entire muscle anytime you work any of it. But yes, decline will work the lower chest a bit more, and the upper chest, particularly the pectoralis minor, will get more work during incline work, and actually during overhead pressing as well. If you go nice and deep on it, it will stimulate that quite well also. So there's some truth to that. But there are other lifts, things like the floor press, that seem to stimulate both very, very well if done correctly, at least according to some EMG data. So it's not always that clear cut and dry. But yeah, it is true. You can put different emphasis on it, but it's not necessarily isolating that head, meaning your incline's still going to work some lower chest and could potentially hypertrophy it a bit. And the decline work and flat work will still work the upper chest to some extent. It's just that it won't be the largest emphasis on it. So I hope that makes sense. All right, next question. Double progression versus single progression for a novice. Why does your novice 5x5 program only have single progression? That's a good question, and a lot of people ask me questions on different things with the novice program, and I usually reply to people that if I felt that the majority of novice lifters would make better gains doing something different, I would have written the program differently to accommodate for it. What I did with that program was that I tried to construct a program that would put as much muscle mass as humanly possible on a first-year lifter, be it male or female, while trying to maintain a fairly balanced physique. Obviously, some people and a lot of people are going to develop weak points at some point near the end of it, but it was to do so while keeping them reasonably balanced and to gain a decent amount of strength also. But the primary focus was to put as much size on them as possible, as quickly as possible. Now, what I did with this, as far as different double progression like you're talking about, where you have different rep schemes progressing at different rates on different days, to where you start doing things like non-linear periodization, the data has never conclusively shown a benefit for novice lifters doing that. Now, we know that more advanced lifters can benefit very much from doing that, but most studies haven't shown a benefit for the novice. A few have, but there are design flaws in those studies, and more studies have actually shown linear progression to be superior for them. Now, once you reach usually the intermediate phase and up, that's where things like this non-linear periodization and double progression patterns really can start to become very, very effective. And we know that both from the scientific data and observing athletes in the real world. It actually works quite well. But for the novice, you actually would get slower progression doing that. And with the novice, you should always just be hammering progression as fast as possible. And if they can add weight to the bar, in any given session, they need to add weight to the bar. And so my program is designed to do that with just a flat single linear progression, because that is what has been consistently, or at least more consistently, proven to give faster gains for people who still have any noob gains left to make. All right, next question. Also, maybe your thoughts on Stan Efferding's recent record-breaking total. I thought he was a complete badass when I read about that, and then I realized it was all raw. And a couple different people asked me to cover this question in the Q&A, so I'm actually going to do this one. Well, what I have to say there is that what Stan the Rhino Efferding did was impressive as hell. This is an IFBB pro bodybuilder who stepped in and pretty much set an all-time world record that hasn't been broken, I think, since the 1970s for the 275-pound raw weight class as a power lifter. So this is a perfect example of how you can cross over. And so when people say that you can't be a good bodybuilder and a good power lifter at the same time, well, I think Stan just proved everybody wrong. Because he has his IFBB Pro card, he's huge, he's jacked, he gets ripped as hell. And he just walked in and set a new world record in powerlifting in a heavyweight class. A new world record. And I think it goes to show you that with good genetics, enough drugs, and enough hard work, that a person can pretty much cross over in both sports. And I think part of it is the drugs, because let's be honest, most of us who are inside these circles and know different people know that most championship winning powerlifters use a bit less drugs, and they don't use all the same drugs that IFBB pros do. And most of them couldn't afford to even if they wanted to. But I think that does play a role, because it is going to give a little better hypertrophy. And obviously Stan can afford these things. He's reasonably well off financially, and he most likely uses them for his bodybuilding. So it gives him a bit of an edge, and that played a role, but I don't want to downplay his hard work by any means. So I think it's the total combination of the package. But yeah, it is very, very impressive, and as far as making a crossover between the two sports, there you have it. It can absolutely be done. So an IFBB Pro is now a world record-holding raw powerlifter. And I think his total is over 2,300 pounds in the squat, bench, and deadlift all raw. All right, last question in this one. What are your plans for the Body Power Expo? All right, I know a lot of you guys want to see me there, because I've had at least 40 or 50 subscribers say they're going to the expo. They want to know if I'm going to be there. Yes, I'm going to be there. I've already got my hotel room booked for my wife and I. I think the plan right now, we're going to take a train up to Birmingham on Saturday morning for the expo. We're going to try to spend all of Saturday there, and then depending on what train we catch home or what rules they have as far as checking out or holding our luggage at the hotel, we may come back to the expo early Sunday morning for a couple hours, and then we'll head home. So I'll be there definitely most of Saturday and maybe some of Sunday morning. So all of my subscribers who are here in the UK who are going to be at the expo, I may very well see you there. And if you see me, just come up and say hello, ask me a few questions, I don't mind. Alright guys, I'm going to try to get part 2 out later today. It may not be till late tonight. So I hope this has been informative, and I will talk to you next time.